Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again to another weekly running and training vlog where, of course, the main purpose of this video is for you to tell me about your week of running. I want to hear about your successes and I definitely want to hear about your setbacks. But before we get into my week of training, which usually comes in the second half of these videos, I did come across an article in Trail Runner magazine. Now the article was written by Jason Fitzgerald, so you know whatever this guy writes, it's gold. And the article is titled 5 Reasons You Keep Getting Injured. And while you may be watching this and you're thinking, Matt, I haven't had an injury in ages. And for me, it's also been a while since I've had, I think, an actual injury, maybe something that just lasts a couple days. But you remember my last injury was when I tripped when I was running and I twisted my ankle. Does that count as a running injury? I don't think it does. But whether we like it or not, the article does point out that becoming injured is actually part of the running experience. That's a horrible thing to say. The article also points out that 75% of runners experience repetitive stress type injuries in any given year. That's stuff like Achilles tendinopathy, IT band syndrome, runner's knee, that sort of thing. So if you think it can't happen to you, well, it probably shouldn't happen to you because I'm going to give you the 5 reasons that should help you avoid it. And guys, I'm going to tell you right up front, you have probably heard of most of these, but because there's only 5, I want you to weigh in on things that you have done throughout your running life, things that you have done, or rather things that you have not done. Now, maybe it didn't lead to injury, but maybe you noticed other slight improvements when you started doing these things or not doing these things. And of course, I will link to this article in Trail Runner magazine in the show notes below. So let's get started with strength training. And guys, perhaps if you are a new runner, it might seem a little bit too much to include strength training in your routine. Maybe you're just getting into running and maybe adding another fitness activity just seems like too much. And I totally get it. But I want you to just keep strength training in the back of your mind. And if you're not a new runner, then really there is no excuse. Get on the strength training bandwagon. When you strength train, you are making your body stronger for everything you do. And generally speaking, we get running injuries because our bodies are going through this repetitive motion of stepping left, right. And basically our bodies they get worn out. Then we start correcting, which could lead to other imbalances, and all this can be happening under the surface. You might not even notice it. Strength training is going to prepare your muscles. It's going to build your muscles to make them stronger so they are ready to accept the load that running puts upon them. And again, new runners, I hear you. You stated, Matt, I've just started, I'm running fine. Well, I'm here to tell you that you could run better. And if you start now, strength training, strengthening your entire body, it will make you a better runner. Now listen, it's actually gonna make your entire life better. Strength training is the fountain of youth. Let's be honest, running is not the fountain of youth. In fact, I think running makes me feel more old and achy than anything else. But strength training is the cure. The next reason that you keep getting injured, according to this article, is that you're running through aches and pains. Those little niggles that you feel once in a while, you're running through them and you're not giving them the attention that they deserve. And I feel kind of like a fraud talking about this because I have run through little aches and pains, little something that I feel maybe in my hip, maybe in my knee, maybe in my ankle. I've run through these pains more times than I can count. And I'll be honest, sometimes I get lucky and sometimes I just run through it and it goes away. But other times, and these are the times I'm talking about, other times I'm not so lucky. And I end up taking an extended time off when really all I needed was to take a day, 2, maybe 3 days off. And I know what you're thinking, maybe if you're training for a race, you've been putting in the work, you've been putting in the effort, you don't want to miss those training days. But my friends, taking those 2 or 3 days off, that is going to do nothing to derail your training, especially when you compare it to taking a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks off because you're forced to take that time off. Nothing will tank your training quicker than taking 3 weeks off. And if you want to avoid doing that, pay attention to your body when it speaks to you. When you get those little aches and pains, listen to what it's telling you. Now, the next reason that you keep getting injured is because you don't have any intensity. And this, most of the time, this will happen in the off season. Because in the off season, when we don't have races that are right there, when they're right there in the immediate future, we're really not training towards anything. So it's very difficult to go out and push yourself. It's very difficult to put in the work if you're not working towards something. But guys, I'm here to tell you that even in the off season, a little speed, picking up your feet a little more, turning over your legs, it's going to keep you feeling fresh, and it's also going to mix up the stimulus towards your body, and it's also going to mix up the stimulus to your body. And running in and of itself is very repetitive, but we still want to mix it up in order to strengthen different systems. And you might be thinking, well, Matt, I don't want to structure speed work during my off season. This is my off season. There's an easy way around that. Just include strides at the end of a couple of your easy runs. You can make it fun and turn it into a fartlek session. It doesn't have to be structured by time or distance. You can run to the next lamppost. You can run to the next mailbox. And just doing that a couple times a week on a couple of your easy runs, that's going to be a step in the right direction towards injury prevention. And I don't know if you know this, but I have fallen into that trap of only running easy miles. In fact, I think it was was during the beginning of the pandemic when I had no races and I was just enjoying going out and running easy. And it felt like I was stuck slow. Don't be like me. Mix in just a little bit of speed, even in the off season. Now on the flip side of this coin is running too fast. And this can be seen when we go out for our easy runs, but we are running at a moderate pace. And this is an easy trap to fall into, especially for newer runners. But I am by no means a newer runner, and I still find myself sometimes running too fast. So ultimately, to be a better runner, you need to run more. You need to run consistently, and you need to run more. And that's pretty obvious. We get better by doing something over and over again, but it's a mistake, and it may almost be counterintuitive. I think I'll give you that running easy is not as beneficial as running hard, but it is. There is a time and a place to run hard. There's a time and a place for speed, and there is a time and a place for running easy. If you do too much hard work, you're putting too much stress on your body, and that stress is cumulative. If you keep going week after week of running too fast too often, you will get injured. So I want you to run your easy runs very easy. I want you to run your sessions at the appropriate paces, and if you're in your off season, I want you to incorporate a little bit of speed, just a little bit. Strides at the end of an easy run is a very simple way to incorporate a little bit of speed. And then there's inconsistent mileage. Now, I already said that consistency is one of the ways to make you a better runner. So obviously on the flip side, inconsistency will not make you a better runner. And if you're running inconsistent mileage, you're not giving your body a time to adapt to the stresses that it needs to become stronger, to become better. And I think this is one of the two things that I actually pay attention to. I actually do on a regular basis. I do run consistently. So on your screen right now is this very simple bar graph from Strava over my last year of running. And you can see that I have maintained consistency throughout the entire year. Now over the last year, I have had training blocks that have had me ramping up my mileage, having me do more speed work than other times, but the consistency is there. And the benefit of staying consistent is when it comes time to actually train for something, your base is already built in. You're not starting from scratch. You're not doing a couch to 5K program. We have to start off with a little bit of walking and then add a little bit of running in. If you maintain consistency, you can start at a much higher level, and then it will make your ramp up to your race fitness that much easier. So guys, I want to hear from you. I want to know, are you consistent with your training? Have you ever run too fast on easy days? Have you ever gone through a time when you haven't incorporated any intensity into your training? Have you run through aches and pains when even though you knew you probably should have stopped? And do you do strength training? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you struggle with one of them, all of them. You used to struggle with some of them. I'd be interested to know. Well guys, I had a pretty good week of running. It was pretty good. I was pretty tired for most of the week just because I was recovering from that half marathon last weekend. But that didn't stop me from starting off Monday with 7.5 miles, very easy. And as I always say, I love to get the week started off with an easy run. Now Tuesday was an actual surprisingly good workout because I was not feeling like going out and doing these mile repeats. But I started the first one, and once I got started, everything started to feel just a little better. So I ran a total of 8.3 miles, but I did include 5 1-mile intervals with 400 meters recovery in between. And actually this run was a good lesson for me. It was a good lesson that even if I'm not feeling like it, it's important to try because it can be surprising how quickly you get in the mood and your body starts feeling good and just goes with it. Of course, that workout combined with the fatigue from the half marathon did come back to bite me on Wednesday. And Wednesday I ran 11.1 miles and I ran it very easy. But for that whole run, my legs were just singing. It almost didn't feel like an easy run, but I kept looking at my heart rate and my heart rate was super low. I think it averaged 120 beats a minute for that entire run, but my legs felt like the 40th kilometer of a marathon. It wasn't a good feeling. So even though that wasn't a good feeling, I did have one more workout day to go this week, and that was on Thursday. I knocked out a total of 10.5 miles, but 8 of those 10.5 miles were at tempo pace. So I warmed up for 2 miles, I did 8 miles at tempo, and then I cooled down for half a mile, and then I walked for a bit. Now, I gotta say now, because my legs were a bit heavier, my tempo pace wasn't exactly where I want it to be, but it was more like a tempo effort. Friday was off, no running. And I felt like I really needed that day off this week. Saturday was a little different. This is my heavy work week, and I usually don't get to run long every other week. But I decided to skip my Peloton workout and go out for my run just a bit earlier than usual. And I did manage to knock out 15.1 miles. So I was quite pleased with that I was able to get in a medium long run. And because I started at 3:15 in the morning, there were no cars. It was actually quite perfect. Getting out there, I could run down the middle of the road. It was like the world belonged to me. And then I wrapped up the week with 7.7 miles. Mostly super easy, but I did run over to the mall and I went up and down the car park couple times, just to remind my legs what it feels like to go up. And that final run on Sunday brought my weekly total to 60.26 miles, which is about 97 kilometers. So again, very happy with that, especially because this is typically my down week. And of course, I did spend some time on the Peloton this week, around 96 miles, which is about 155 kilometers. Now, I don't usually talk about it here on the running and training vlog, but I also do weight workouts at least 4 times a week. So I'm also including that into my training. But guys, let me know how your week was. Let me know if you met your goals. Let me know if you didn't meet your goals. Did you do any specific workouts that you're proud of? And of course, did you race? All right, my friends, be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.